Good afternoon. Welcome to the Harrisonburg Rotary Club. On this Halloween day, I would say that you guys are not looking very scary, but normally that would be a compliment, but you guys look just normal. But anyhow, I'm glad you could be here. So join me as we always do in starting with our four-way test of the things we think, say, Ash will lead us in singing My Country, 'Tis of Thee. Now let's turn to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Today's prayer is by a person that Les promised me is qualified to pray, Steve Wingfield. Dan, please come up and introduce our guests and visitors.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. We have two guests today. We have Rob Dowdy with us, and I'm going to have Steve Wingfield introduce him. And our speaker, he's a Rotarian. Ken, do you want to say a few words about? Okay. All right. Did I miss any other guests, perhaps? Okay.
That's great, Rob. We need an FCA director and Steve needs a bodyguard. So that's good to have a dual. Great. We'd love to have you. So one of the things I want to share that's on the edge of a family of Rotary, that's not really that, but it's a good time to share it. We see a lot of longtime members here that we love to see, and I won't name them all because I'll miss them. There's a lot of you that have been in this club a long time, but I'm just glad to see Dick Morin here. Dick, it's been a little while, and glad that you're back. So hope to see much more of you. So yeah, anybody else, anything else from a family of Rotary? Tell us about what's going on with your family or other Rotarians. All right. So I'll continue to dribble on every time about signing up your service hours. And I just did some. I've been lame in that regard. But again, anything that you do for your church, for your community, for this club, please let us know. I also want to turn attention again. We have before the Amazon Smile program that supports the charitable foundation. And I did some research. If you go to smile.amazon.com, you can just buy things largely like you would anyhow if you use Amazon, and you can designate our club to get 5% of those sales. So again, that's ways to, support the foundation. So also I want to touch base. Rotary Club of Bridgewater, our club south of town, is doing a election night pancake fundraiser at TA from 4 to 7. So those of you that want to eat health food and support, but yeah, they said that's actually their biggest one of their most well-attended fundraisers. So that's supporting a good cause in our club. Also, service project this coming Sunday at noon. Still could use some more volunteers. This is supporting the Veterans Parade. Meet at noon at the farmers market. And if those of you that signed up on Sign Up Genius, you'll put your email address. Or if you want to see Noah after the meeting today, we could use some more. And it's a low hanging fruit ask. You'll be there for an hour or two helping organize the veterans and just being a presence there. So again, encourage you to consider doing that on Sunday. So with that said, we're excited about our speaker today, and Ken Horst is going to step in for Rodney and introduce a guy that many of us know, and he's a fellow Rotarian. So come on up, Ken.
Is kind of a special day. Some are celebrating Halloween more than others, but in the spirit of humor, it's a real pleasure for me to introduce the speaker today, Thomas Ray. Thomas is president of Bank of the James, Shenandoah Valley. More importantly, he is married to Jennifer and has two wonderful daughters, Emily and Brody? Yeah. Thomas's almost 20 years of commercial banking experience getting his start with Rockingham Heritage Bank in Harrisonburg. In 2015, he joined Bank of the James to start the Valley Market, and in 2022 became EVP to oversee commercial banking in all the bank's regional markets. Thomas completed his undergrad at Virginia Tech, receiving dual degrees, finance and management. In 2007, he finished his MBA at JMU, sending his career on a rapid growth trajectory. Thomas has been very involved with the RMH Foundation, PDK, JMU, and United Way, Chamber of Commerce, and more over the years. But Rotary has proven to be the biggest constant of his community involvement. A past president of Rock Rotary, he also serves as the area foundation rep and has helped clubs with district, collaborative, and global grants that have brought tens of thousands of dollars to us in the Valley. Thomas doesn't believe in spare time, but does spend time with his kids and their youth athletics, beach bumming with Jennifer, hunting, and the outdoors, usually before the family is out of bed. Most importantly, he loves building relationships around the person of Jesus of Nazareth across many beliefs and all of the very fun adventures that come with following him. Thomas, welcome.
Well, I thank you all for having me today, but being Halloween, I've got something special because what you all don't realize is you've had an imposter among you that's been dressing up for the last year or so as your club president. So I would like to introduce the real Wayne Whitmer. I have my safety vest and everything. Put it on for Mike's picture taking here. Try to. That's right. We'll just leave it here. That's easy enough. You know, when I think about the four-way test, the fake Wayne Whitmer, you know, is it the truth? Well, he'll spin it that way. Is it fair to him? Sure. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? That's what he'll make you think, at least. And will it be beneficial? Well, it will be to him. So I think it's important today as the real Wayne Whitmer to talk to you all about the Rotary Foundation, a legitimate organization, versus the illegitimacies of your fake Wayne Whitmer that's been up here ever since. So because I tend to move a lot, I'll put my hat down, my helmet down for now, and just don't call OSHA on me in the meantime. But no, I'm happy to be here. You know, I've talked to a few of you all leading up to this. Just you know, we've talked about the Rotary Foundation for years. For those that are new members, maybe you haven't had to sit through one of these presentations. And I'll try to do my best to keep it lively, but I think it's important to know what the foundation is at the kind of basic level and what the foundation does, because it's the heart of what we do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So just to kind of keep us on speed, I'll try to see if the clicker works. Oh, I got to turn it on. Sorry. There we go. There we go. So the mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. And I think it's important to know that we accomplish this by using the expertise of Rotarians, right? The Rotary Foundation is each of you and people just like you all around the world. Through our foundation, we're able to reach out to both our local and our international communities, enriching the lives of millions of people worldwide. So here are just the different areas of focus. These are things, again, things that might seem similar. Often when the foundation does work, we're hitting more than one area of focus at any given time. But peace, conflict prevention and resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. These are the core tenets of most of the work that the Rotary Foundation is doing. So whether it's eradicating polio in India, digging water wells in the Philippines, providing dictionaries to local elementary schools, or educating a scholar in peace and conflict resolution, Rotary creates the environment and circumstances to promote peace throughout the world. So just kind of digging down at these, building peace, the world needs Rotary and the Rotary Foundation to help with peace and conflict resolution. The image here is from 2000, well, from Australia, actually. The war that displaced over 22,000 Sudanese to Australia. A program was created through the Rotary Peace Center alumni to use soccer to help displaced youth and to form a new life. And so contributions made to the Rotary Foundation went to help projects just like this. The Rotary Foundation strengthens local peace efforts, trains local leaders, supports long-term peace building, and so much more. Fighting disease. We hear about polio all the time, but polio is just one of the many things the Rotary Foundation is looking to help with. Probably an old stat here, but infectious diseases are the leading killers of people living in poverty. And nearly all of the 14 to 17 million children and adults who die each year from an infectious disease live in a developing country. So it's one of those things we take for granted here in America and here in Harrisonburg, that we don't have to deal with these realities. But the Rotary Foundation can cause and affect the fight of disease by improving the capacity of local healthcare officials, combating the spread of malaria, HIV, and other major diseases, enhancing health infrastructure, and more in each community. Providing clean water. Worldwide, 2.6 billion people lack the access to improved sanitation facilities, and 884 million people do not use improved sources of drinking water. 2.2 million children will die in any given year from diarrhea and other related diseases, all of which are preventable. This image is from a partner that supplied water filters to 5,000 families in Lima, where over 70% of the drinking water comes from polluted, the Rimac River. We'll figure out how that's pronounced. It's also worth noting that local clubs, including many of you, supported a project a few years back to provide sanitation and to provide clean water solutions in South Africa and places that were impoverished areas there. So even we, not just Rotary in general, we locally are combating this on a daily basis. Supporting mothers and children. So 536 women and girls die every year as a result of complications during pregnancy and childbirth. It's kind of staggering to think over 500,000 women and children in a time period where we got so much access to just knowledge and be able to help with pregnancies. But worldwide, that's still a leading cause of death. Here is the image of Haiti, the highest infant mortality rate that exists a few years back. And so Rotary's pitched in to help create parental care providers with remote access in the different country and provide fully equipped medical Jeep that can carry 11 volunteers anywhere they need to go in that country to help out. So reducing mortality rates, reducing maternity mortality rates, these are just some of the ways that Rotary is helping worldwide. Promoting education. We live in an area here in Harrisonburg where we've got tons of universities and colleges, tons of education opportunities, private schools for our kids. Well, worldwide, there's still over 75 million children that do not have access to basic education, and more than 1 in 4 adults cannot read or write, and 66% of these being women worldwide. So even at a time where literacy, it's, this has been one of our big proponents here at Rotary, is to promote literacy, and yet we still have 1 in 4 adults in the world that are illiterate. This is an image from New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Rotary was one of the first ones on the ground, as they often are, and helped to rebuild some of the schools and school systems for those that were willing to come back and be able to move back into that area. The other big thing is growing local economies. Kind of an older stat again, but worldwide, 1.4 billion people live in poverty. That poverty definition is that they're living on less than $1.25 a day. So you can't even buy something at McDonald's. I think their value menu doesn't even have something at $1.25 anymore, it seems. And this is counting the effects of COVID and the effects of a potential global recession that may or may not be coming, right? So anytime those things, conflict happens, anytime there's a international issue, those numbers would only go up. But the Rotary Foundation is investing in different things. Rotary is committed to alleviating poverty and through microfinance institutions and vocational training programs. And so not just going in and just providing cash, not just doing a single project, the things that are going to have a lasting impact. So why share all this? Why go through all these stats? Some of these you might be familiar with, some you may be hearing for the first time, but what does this matter for the Harrisonburg Club, right? What does this matter for the Shenandoah Valley? Well, that's why things like the Every Rotarian Every Year, why it matters, right? I won't do show of hands, so I won't call out anybody, but several of you in this club are sustaining members. That means you're giving at least $100 to the foundation, either through your work or personally, to the foundation every year. That's the idea of Every Rotarian Every Year. That's the money that allows these projects to take place, right? The things that teach children to read, things that build wells, feed the hungry, care for the sick. This annual fund is what funds all of this each and every year. So just So just a little idea of the foundation from an economic model standpoint. So whenever we contribute that money at an individual level, at a club level, it goes to the Rotary Foundation. It sits there for 3 years earning interest. The hope is that it earns enough interest to be able to pay for the overhead, to be able to administer the many projects and grants that are done. The reason that's important is if we're going to put money towards something, we want to know that the money is getting used the way it should be, right? And it takes people to manage that kind of process. Of that, we've got 92% of the dollars in recent years has gone directly to projects. So for every $100 that goes up to the Rotary Foundation, after 3 years, 50% of that comes back to our district. The other 50% goes towards world projects. And so of the 92%, that overhead piece is coming from the interest that's earned, plus potentially 5% from the world projects where that money goes. And that's important to note because we could say, hey, I'd love it to be 100%, right? I'd love there to be no overhead. Well, if you want to have something with no overheads, you can go do a bake sale at the local 7-Eleven. You might raise $300. That'd be great. It's zero overhead because it's all volunteer. But what Rotary has proven to do is proven to have impact, and to be able to have the impact of Rotary, which is, arguably the largest civic organization in the entire world, does more work in the world than the United Nations does as far as helping different economies, helping bring people out of poverty. That's a pretty good number right there. So again, how we fund it, again, 50% of all money raised comes back. So that comes back for us to use for district grants, collaborative grants, global activities we may be involved in at the club level. So one of the things that you guys can be proud of is that you are one of the many clubs that's been very active in our area at writing grants, whether they be grants that you guys are doing individually or grants you're doing collaboratively with other clubs. And so, when we think about giving to a large international foundation, it's important to know that we get a huge return on our investment because we have local Rotarians that are active and wanting to do good here in the Shenandoah Valley. And so it's just important to know that as that money comes back to our district, we're better than most areas at bringing that money to Harrisonburg and Rockingham County. The World Fund piece, again, this is your global grants, Rotary Peace Centers, things like Polio Plus. These are the ways that those things get funded. And I would say that we've even done a better job in our area with global grants. It's not an every year kind of thing. Most global grants take 3 to 4 years to work through, if not more, whereas your district grants are more common. But again, these are your dollars being put to use in our community and for our projects. You know, there's different ways to do reoccurring giving. I know, I'm confident there's a way you can just have it added to your dues. You can go directly to Rotary International. You can set up for a annual giving. However you give, when it comes from you, it's going to get counted towards your club's goals. And again, the goals aren't important other than the work that those goals represent, right? It's not about how much money we give and get and check in a box. It's about how much impact can we make in the world as Rotarians and as the Harrisonburg Club. You know, one of the things we always talk about is making Rotary, a charity of choice. It's fun. At district conference, I got to sit in on a donor luncheon, and we got to hear from some of the folks that have contributed, hundreds of thousands of dollars or committed to hundreds of thousands of dollars to Rotary within our district. And every single one of them got up and said, I'm a person of faith. I give to my church, and Rotary is the avenue that I give to service in the community. And, not that the faith component has to be there, but it's important to know that Rotary for them was 1 or 2 on that list, right? And whatever your reason and motivation for giving, the Rotary has proven to be one of the most impactful ways to do it. And I don't say that to take away from the United Way. I don't say that to take away from the RMH Foundation or any other charity that we have in town, right? We've got great groups, and I think we should find ways to support them all. But the way we can leverage dollars through Rotary is unique compared to all the other places that we can give. And so making it a priority for your giving, whether it's in your top 2 or 3, I think is something we should all consider. And then the other thing is what does that kind of look like on a tangible basis? So $100 a year, right? Not a lot of money, right? A few coffees you don't get from Starbucks or Greenberries. $100 can help provide, 3 backpacks filled with school supplies, 50 malaria test kits, 1 filter water hygiene training for a family in Peru, right? So $100 can go a long way because of all the matching funds and other partners within. And so to be a sustaining member, $100, that's all it takes a year. For those that might be inclined to be a little bit more, $1,000 a year to be part of the Paul Harris Society. Really, again, these are small dollar amounts, especially for maybe for some of you younger folks that are still here or those that are retired. It may seem like a lot of money, but for those that have been in Rotary, that are in business, these are a lot smaller asks than what you're probably getting on a daily basis for your budget. But what $1,000 could be 14 anti-retroviral drugs, could be 1 bicycle to play sports for a youth kid, or it could be education for sexual assault and domestic abuse. So just another way. The other thing I would just encourage everybody would be, joining Rotarians like myself to be part of the Bequest Society. The Bequest Society is one of the easiest things in the world because they get money when I die. I don't have to give them any money now, right? But for a commitment of a minimum of $10,000, and there's tiers that go above that, you're basically laying a legacy for the work that Rotary does, right? That when you pass through your will, that there will be money that would go to Rotary. And one of the reasons I signed up for it is that, when I think about all the work that Rotary does, I don't know who knows? I could be gone next week, but who knows what the world's going to need a decade from now, several decades from now, right? But I know there are going to be people like you all sitting in the room that are willing to shepherd that money and put it to the right uses and to make sure it gets used effectively, right? And so again, just different ways to kind of think about giving. Giving matters today, right? But giving matters just as much tomorrow, and sort of thinking through what that looks like. So the last thing I'll kind of leave you with, and I know we got lots of time here, so I can talk a little bit more about specifics and answer any questions. And if you don't have any, I can just keep talking about random Rotary International facts. But one of the things I want to show is I brought one of my Paul Harris pins, right? So we've got lots of lapel pins in Rotary. They mean lots of different things. But for me, this one matters the most, not because of the pin itself. This thing's pretty cheaply made, to be honest with you. It doesn't really fit any of my outfits. Maybe says more about my shopping habits than anything else, but it's what this pin means. I've been in places where I see somebody with a Paul Harris pin. I go, oh, you're a Rotarian. And not just a Rotarian, but a Rotarian that's made a commitment to the foundation, to what Rotary does beyond just the club level, right? And what's really neat about it is that, you You can get this pin contributing dollars. You can also get this pin because somebody gifts dollars in your name because they believe in the work that you're doing for Rotary. So the point of the pin is why the pin matters. The last kind of thought I'll leave you with, I was in Kosovo a couple years back. I know I've talked to several. I've even, I think, talked to this club about it. But we're going from different meeting to different meeting, meeting with folks. JMU has a big connection with Kosovo, and I was trying to make some inroads with Rotary clubs there. We're in a parliamentary prayer meeting, just kind of neat opportunity to be with folks from Parliament from various religious backgrounds that were praying with each other and for the country. When we got done, we were shaking hands going to leave. And for me, I mean, I was really the baggage holder. You had, you know, esteemed people at JMU, folks that were going to be speaking at their conference, and you had little old Thomas. Well, I don't know, nobody calls me little, but you know, you had old Thomas here just walking around, like just kind of in everybody's shadow. One of the guys pulls me aside. He sees the lapel pin I have. He goes, "Wait, you're with Rotary?" I go, "Yes, sir, I am." He goes, "Thomas, I was once with Rotary. You guys have done great things. Anything you need in this country, you let me know and it is yours. I will get you whatever you need. I will introduce you to whoever you want to be introduced to." Just, you know, and I was taken aback. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know what to ask for. I mean, I should at least ask for a candy bar or something, but that's the impact of Rotary, right? It's easy when we walk around Harrisonburg, Rockingham County, we see the good that everybody's doing. You know, I look around the room. I think I've, you know, most of us have served together or with each other on every possible nonprofit board that's out there, right? And that's great work and it's important work. But to see the impact that Rotary has in other nations, Rotary has here locally, to know that people recognize that lapel pin. When Haiti had the earthquake, when there were, you know, tsunamis, and well, I think it was Malaysia, you know, it wasn't the World Health Organization that was there first, right? It wasn't the United Nations that was there first. It was always Rotary who was there first. And people remember that, they understand it, they respect that. And for me, that's more than anything what this pin means. And so that's what the Rotary Foundation is. It's bigger than just what we are as a club. It's bigger than what we are as individuals, but it's bigger in a lot better ways. So I appreciate you letting me take some time. I want to see if there's any questions. I know that I kind of went over things briefly. Also, if anybody would like to pose with the real Wayne Whitmer after the event, he will be stationed over here to the left to help out as needed. But other Wayne Whitmer, I'm happy to pass it off to you if you'd like.
I'm going to start off with one. Well, John, you go ahead first. I'm coming.
I hear it. Yeah, that is a great question, John. Let me look at my notes. I Google. Yeah, that's right. You would ask me the one thing I don't have in my notes, John. You know me that well. No, you're good. You're good. I'm happy you did. I'll see. I got a 4-star rating. I see my 92%. So I will say, according to the website, that 3 billion and thousands of projects over the past 100 years. Obviously, that's not in any given year. But I'd have to get back to you on that one.
One clarification that I think it was maybe inadvertent, but the sustainer is $100 a year.
Mhm.
Paul Harris is 1,000 one time
Well,
given or gifted.
yeah.
And then you can go 2, 3, 4.
Right. And so there's a couple different things. So you've got the Paul Harris level, right? Once you've been given or gifted $1,000, there's also a Paul Harris Society for those Rotarians that choose to give $1,000 every year. So essentially the equivalent of one Paul Harris every year. So, you know, there are a myriad of different levels. I've just tried to hit on a couple that were sort of most familiar, just in case, you know, anybody's feeling so, you know, so willing. And you know, it's also nice here in the fourth quarter as, you know, the end of the year approaches and we think about our taxes, right, Mike Garber? Different ways that we can, you know, offset those tax liabilities. The Rotary Foundation is a great one. Yeah, John. Yeah, so I didn't go too much into specifics on that, but I know we've got a little bit of time. So for every dollar we give, right, whether it be to the annual fund, whether it be directly to a global grant, whether it be to polio, we earn a point for every dollar, right? So a Paul Harris Fellow is someone who has 1,000 points, may or may not be somebody who's contributed $1,000. As we accumulate those points, we're allowed to gift those points to others. So, we can say that, hey, the other Wayne Whitmer did a great job as president this year. We'd like to gift him another Paul Harris. And you have that ability to do so. It could be that you have a brand new Rotarian that stepped up and that's really pulling their weight, even though they haven't had a chance to accumulate that giving. We could give them points towards the next Paul Harris. So there's different ways in which we can gift those, can transfer those. Ken, I believe you're the foundation chair, so you can ask Ken, he'll ask me, and I'll get the right form set up for you. But it's a relatively easy process. And the point is that again, the pen is not about how many dollars we've given. The pen is about who we are as Rotarians and our commitment to Rotary. And so there quite often are folks that we will gift individually or as a club will gift to be able to help out. And you can gift a dollar for dollar. It can be transferred one time. It can never be gifted to yourself. I had the benefit this past summer at our Rotary picnic. I got to gift enough points for 3 individuals to be named Paul Harris Fellows. And so at our foundation, we brought my wife, my daughter Emily, my son Brody. Said, Rotary is a family affair. When I go and I volunteer at Rotary, I'm taking time away from my family. They've got to commit too. As I was able to name all 3 a Paul Harris Fellow this summer because of the commitment they've given to me in my pursuit of trying to help Rotary. So I don't know if that fully answers the question, but happy to get into the weeds on it sometime if anybody would like. Yes. So the Rotary Foundation is a 501c3. Worth noting, your club has its own foundation, which is a 501c3. So like many things, there's all kinds of different foundations, but the Rotary Foundation is a standalone 501c3. And again, brings, millions of dollars every year flowing into and out of to be able to do good throughout the world. And also, given that has to adhere to the standards of other 501c3 charities, I think it's 4 out of 4 stars from most rating agencies. And I guess that means that those donations may be tax deductible up to the extent of the tax code, right? All right, Wayne. Well, I'll turn it back over to you if there's no other questions. I appreciate the time. And, I know we're a little bit short, but I've never met a Rotary club that didn't mind getting out 5 minutes early. So that's my gift to you as you think about how you might give to the foundation.
Thank you, Thomas. I tell you, I was already sold, but man, I'm really sold now. It's really easy to describe something that has value, and the foundation really does. And I will do the same. I'm not going to encourage people to stand that are multiple, but there's so many multiple Paul Harris fellows in this room. Go on the link and the rotograph, and I think you can see it there. It'd be fun just to check it out. I will say this too. I want to recognize, again, not recognize everybody in the room. This gentleman has also been an amazing advocate for the foundation, is Mal, who's here today. I know you've done a lot to advocate for and give to the foundation as well. So I would just encourage everybody to consider becoming a Paul Harris Fellow. For you new members, if you just do the sustainer, you get there in about 10 years. But hey, it's on the way. So thanks, Thomas. Thank you all. Appreciate you, Rob, coming. Hope you keep coming back. And we are adjourned.